So far we discussed in part one and part two. I hope you understand the basic idea of why authentication is needed. What are the problems of cryptography based authentication, and how physical layer authentication can help us to solve these challenges. Then the design requirement, very important. Like if you want to work on any field, these performance metrics and design requirement are the core to design any algorithm and analyze its performance. By the way, for the references, I put some references at the end, some good references I will share in the last slides. So, what are the types of physical layer authentication? First of all, we understand something physical layer. I think almost all of you have idea of, like, in physical layer we are using either the channel or hardware characteristics of the devices for ensuring security. If we divide, okay, there are two basic type of physical layer authentication. One we called as passive and the other is active. In this part 3 we will focus on them. Now, in the literature so far, when if you classify all the physical layer authentication techniques, either we call it passive and the other one is active. Active is, we can also say, kind of, you heard concept of watermarking in digital domain. This is a 5-layer watermarking. You are adding a signal to a tag to your signal as a watermark. Now, what is the basic difference? In the passive case, you are passive, like, from as the name suggests, passive means like you are not changing your signal. You are just extracting whatever features are there, whatever radio frequency characteristics due to hardware imperfection you can extract from the signal, or the channel characteristics. You are not adding anything to the signal. Those techniques in which you are not manipulating the signal at that, like you are not doing anything extra on your signal. You are extracting the inherent or intrinsic features from your signal. Those are passive physical layer authentication techniques. In the active physical layer authentication technique, you design a tag, as I told you, based on certain key. The key can be crypto. You can extract key from the. I want to mention here, if you are new to file the security, I mentioned that there is a problem of key sharing in heterogeneous network for the cryptography based method. Physical security is a very interesting approach to solve this issue. Actually, I told you that device A and B, let's suppose device A and B, they have a unique channel, and there is another device nearby. Let's suppose this is an attacker. The attacker have different channel. Now, the device A and B send the pilot signal to each other and estimate the channel. Okay, and the attacker here will also receive this pilot and estimate the channel. The channel between A and B and between attacker is different, one thing. The second thing is that due to the channel reciprocity, the channel observed at A is similar to channel observed at B. So both of them have similar channel, and they can use this channel to generate key, and they can use this key for this active physical layer authentication method. What you are doing is that you are generating the key based on you generate the key and make a tag, a signal based on that key, add to your signal, superimpose to your signal, and transmit. And at the receiver, you try to detect that tag or signal. Now going into the so first of all we will go little bit deeper into the passive physical layer authentication techniques. Passive physical layer authentication technique, there are two popular types. The first one is hardware based and the second one is channel based authentication. The basic algorithm for passive physical layer authentication is summarized in this slide. Uh, for the first step, before the start of of authentication, at the very first step, as I told you, still we are using cryptography. So to register the device, we need upper layer security techniques. And once the device is registered, we can use physical layer authentication. So if we see the basic steps, we have two stages for passive authentication. The first stage is training stage. I wrote there are four basic steps, and the second stage is transmission stage. In the training stage, what you are doing is as follows. You have an Alice will send a request to Bob for message transmission. He said like I want to transmit a message. Bob received the request, and then after receiving the request, Bob first check whether the request is from legitimate or not. Bob, in this case, Bob can use some upper layer security techniques. After validating it, okay, this is a valid Alice. If it is legitimate, Bob extracts some features from those transmission from Alice and make a whitelist, make a database. Okay, this is an Alice, and this is the channel characteristics of Alice, and this is the hardware feature of, like, we have a fingerprint. So the hardware impairments are the fingerprint of device, or the channel is kind of fingerprint of a device to identify it. After that, Bob extract the feature and Bob send an acknowledgement to Alice for preparing a message transmission. So the first stage is a training stage. In the training stage, first of all, anyone who is a legitimate node initially in the training will send a request to the Bob, and Bob using upper layer authenticate, okay, this is a legitimate node, and then extract the features. This can be a channel feature or a hardware feature like IC cyclic frequency offset, IQ imbalance, phase noise, or anything. In the first stage, after first stage, you make a database. The second is a message transmission, or where you are actually testing the exact source. In the message transmission stage, Alice will send a signal to Bob over the same wireless channel. Bob receives a signal, and now Bob, this time Bob will use physical layer authentication to authenticate. Now, Bob is not 100% sure it is Alice or any. So in message transmission stage, Bob receives a message and Bob need to identify whether it is from legitimate or not. It has the database in which there is a features of Alice. So what it will do is Bob receive the signal of any unknown receiver, extract the feature from the received signal. Again, they can be channel based feature or hardware impairment. Afterward, Bob compare this feature with the database. And if it is matches, so it will authenticate, yeah, this is Alice. Otherwise, it detects, okay, this is a spoofing attack, or this is the basic algorithm is as I hope you understand. Training stage, message transmission stage. I'm giving you this example just for a very nice example. For example, in your phone, initially you authenticate, you buy a phone, you register your fingerprint. Now, in your phone, your fingerprint is stored in the database. Your features are stored there. And whenever you want to authenticate, anyone who tries to unlock your phone our mobile phone receives the signal, his fingerprint, and compare with the database. If it matches, it will let unlock the phone, otherwise no. So here it's the same thing. In the training feature, Alice send a signal, your Bob is storing the fingerprint or feature. And afterward, Alice or anyone else tries to uh, unlock phone or send a signal to Bob. First of all, Bob do some signal pre-processing, feature extraction, and then the database that it made in the training phase, it will receive the feature and compare the current feature with the database. And based on that, it can detect the authentication attack. And in this case, different machine learning and other deep learning algorithm can be used. So this is the basic example how passive physical layer authentication work. Now, the second type that I told you is hardware or RF based authentication. The basic idea there is that, first of all, this is general. In hardware based, you receive a signal, you will extract the feature. Okay. After that, there are many features from the hardware. You will select certain features that you want to use for authentication. I also have some discussion about features. After selecting this feature, you have this feature database through training, and now you will receive a feature. You have the feature in database, like I explained this example. You will compare it to identify the exact source. So I also wrote device-based features reflect the hardware imperfection of the transmitting device. The receiver will know which device is transmitting, because during training, receiver makes the database, and now during transmission, it again extracting the features and comparing. The features can be frequency, cyclic frequency offset, IQ imbalance, clock skew. Another features I want to say, like different hardware equipment or sections have different kinds of imperfection. For example, local oscillator, the impairment related to local oscillators is can be phase noise or cyclic frequency offset. Related to power amplifier, there are power amplifier imperfections. Related to clock, we have clock offset, and related to modulation, we have IQ imbalance. Before go, I want to mention very important point here. There can be, these are many features that you can extract from device. What are the number of features we should select? If in general, like if you extract more feature, it means more robust authentication. What types of feature? You can select single feature, you can select multiple features, you can give weight to the feature, like this feature is more robust, I should, the weighted sum for different features. And other thing is that based on these features, you can use supervised classification or unsupervised classification to identify or to use them for authentication. So this can be a very interesting work. Like if you see the literature, either they are for example focusing on cyclic frequency offset, one feature, two feature based authentication, three feature, these are paper, these are work, three feature based authentication, four feature based authentication. They select the best feature and use them for authentication. And in some of the work they are using, they give more weight to one feature compared to other, using both feature, but they realize, okay, this feature is more robust. They use the feature that is more robust. Another thing is that when you are selecting feature, you should also think your design criteria, the feature, how much robust it is, how much secure it is, how much covert it is. So, by the way, in the passive, we don't worry about this covertness because we are all just extracting the already available features. So, another thing is that Jihad I think you is explaining in this course different applications. So these are application scenario. You also mentioned the device that those application where you can apply these five authentication, these like Wi-Fi system, Bluetooth system, ad hoc, Zigbee system, WiMAX system, network interface card even can be used for this purpose. So these are the basic. I want to give you idea about hardware-based authentication. For further detail, I will mention you some of the references in the literature as well. If we understand this hardware-based authentication, now let's move to channel-based authentication. In the channel-based authentication, as I explained earlier, we have the Bob, we have Alice. In the training phase, Alice will send the channel signal to Bob. Bob will make the database, and Eve will also try to listen it. And in the next stage, Alice will again send the signal. Bob will receive the signal, compare it with the database. If it is a legitimate, it will say, okay, this is a legitimate node. Or if eavesdropper tried to send the signal, Bob can easily understand by comparing it with its database. Now, going little bit further detail um, in this channel domain, I already explained you about uniqueness that in the wireless communication, especially in the rich environment. I'm not talking about sparse environment. In the rich environment like sub-gigahertz based communication, if the two nodes are half wavelength apart, they will observe independent channel. And the channel between two nodes is reciprocal. You can use this information for physical layer authentication. Now, going little bit further towards channel-based authentication, when we are talking about channel-based authentication, one important thing that you will see channel state information, channel impulse response or channel frequency response, and receive signal strength. You can use both of them for authentication. Then, as you know, the channel can be, you can have statistical information, you can have instantaneous channel information. Statistical channel information determined by path loss and shadowing, and instantaneous channel information will be determined by path loss, shadowing, and small scale fading together. You know, from the channel information availability perspective. What are the perspective like if what will be the effect on channel based authentication if we have a statistical information or instantaneous channel information? So here this table briefly explain like when you are from the perspective of complexity, in fact when you are just using statistical channel, path loss and shadowing, it is low complex, high robust, but it is not so secure. Similarly, instantaneous channel, it is more complex but highly secure. And when we are further designing, we need to think from these perspective like what is your design criteria, how much robustness you want. Sometimes you want less complexity, sometimes you are thinking about more robust. So based on that, your design perspective, you can select it. But pref in from the security point of view, we will prefer instantaneous channel information for authentication. Now, another very important thing when you are thinking about channel, if you are uh, if you take any wireless course or in general, we channel can be static or channel can be invariant or channel can be variant. For example, there are two nodes. They are static. The channel is not changing. The environment is static. You estimate the channel. You did the training, and after some time, you send a signal in the database. The copy of the channel estimate that you have in database will match with the copy that you send after some time if the channel is invariant. But if the channel is variant, when you estimate the channel during the training versus when after one after some time when you again send from the same device from the Alice, the channel changes between Bob and Alice. When Alice tried to authenticate himself, the database will reject its uh, uh, authenticity of that legitimate user. So in order to do that, in case of when channel is variant, the channel tracking need to be considered. There are a lot of channel tracking algorithms that we need to, like we will estimate the channel, and because the channel is varying, we need to update our database based on those tracking algorithms. This is an example of if the channel is changes. For example, if you estimate do if you train your database, or if you did training at time t naught and you are doing verification or transmission at t1, your database will not accept it. So maybe if your database is this and you are able to track the channel in your database, and any device will re send a message, you can authenticate it. Now, another important case when I am talking about in even at the start of presentation, I talk about rich scattering versus sparse channel. In general, the current microwave channel that we are using, and this is based on our environment and other factors. The rich scattering environment, in case of rich scattering environment, we have a one benefit that after a half wavelength we can observe independent channel. But in case of sparse channel, millimeter wave and higher frequency, there may be channel correlation and these kind of things. And in those cases, we need to design the channel authentication algorithm that are designed for rich scattering are not applicable, and you need to design different algorithms. Channel based authentication applicable to MIMO system, dual hop wireless system, OFDM, CDMA, and other cyber physical systems. This is the basic idea of passive physical layer authentication, and now we are moving towards active physical layer authentication. What is active physical layer? As the name suggests, in the active, as I explained earlier, that we are not extracting something that is already in the signal. For example, if the channel is changing and you are not doing tracking, your channel based authentication may not work. In such cases, maybe active physical layer authentication can help us. So what is the basic idea here? I also summarize the basic steps, two stages again, the first stage and the second stage. In the first step, Alice sent a request to Bob that I want to transmit a message. Bob received the request. Bob first check whether the request is from the legitimate node or not by using upper layer. And if it is Alice and legitimate node, Bob generate a symmetric secret key or generate a key from the channel. Afterwards, Bob, what Bob will do, Bob send an acknowledge, Bob make that key, and Bob send an acknowledgement signal to Alice. Okay, send a message. And what Alice will do, Alice also have that key from channel or pre-shared. Alice generate the tag based on that secret key, and then Alice embed that tag is just a signal that you are superimposed, like you, some of you work on Noma. I will explain further how it is similar to Noma concept. You can embed that tag into the source message, and then the final is a tagged message, like in digital signal, you digital watermark document or something. Here you are making a watermark physical signal, and then you transmit that signal to Bob. Bob will receive that signal, and afterward, what Bob have knows the key. Bob make one key at as a database, as a to compare, or as a local copy, and it receives the signal from the Alice. It will extract the tag and compare the look with the local copy to authenticate Alice or the source. This is a general example in the block diagram. Here I am saying secret key, it can be channel based or it can be crypto. But the idea here is that this is an authentication tag based on the key. This is my message. We superimpose both of them. We pass through the channel. We did channel estimation step, and after estimating the channel, we decode the message, and we will, based on this message and secret key, we will make a reference tag to compare, and afterward we extract the tag from the message and compare the tag with the local copy. I want to mention here this tag can be message dependent or just key dependent. It can be function of both message and key, or it can only be the function of the message. Here I want to tell you a little bit deeper about the tag. Look at this M. Let's suppose this M. M is my message, and T is the tag. And like Noma, we have a near user and far user. Here I have a message M and the tag signal T. The power of the message is PS and PT, and you superimpose them. You send this signal, the receiver Y will receive through channel AB, and you receive Y, and at the receiver, based on the message M and key, you will generate the tag to compare, and here from the received signal you will extract the tag R, and you compare the tag, extract the tag from the received signal and compare with the database to identify the exact source. Now here in the active techniques, as you are changing something, the concept of covertness came. I mentioned in one slide earlier the third design criteria, covertness, little or no harm to the performance, or if someone who have no idea which method is used, how much it affect its performance, or will it able to uh, decode the message without knowing the overall algorithm. So what is covertness in active techniques? So here I give a basic definition. The negative effect of embedding a tag into the source message can be kept under control while adjusting the parameters. Look, this power, you can control the power of the tag. If you increase the tag power, you can improve the robustness, but you can degrade the performance. So this robustness, security, covertness, these three parameters you need to play. There is a trade-off. There is always trade-off in different parameters. And there are some of the techniques, non-covert techniques. Uh, they can be used if even if now the covert techniques uh, you because they are covert, because you are reducing the effect of bad effect in them, you can use in any receiver. Either it is a receiver Bob who knows the method, or it's a carer who have no idea which method is used. It will not affect the performance. But there are some non-covered techniques, and these non-covered techniques you cannot use in any receiver. You can use only on those receiver can decode the message who knows, okay, this algorithm is used, these are the changes, and these techniques also require some changes at the receiver. So this is an example of covert techniques. For example, you can this superposition based techniques, you are just superposing a signal, a tag on your signal. You can superimpose the tag on your pilot signal or on the message signal, or you can replace some of the symbols in for some of the subcarriers. The application scenarios are there. For example, you can apply this kind of techniques in the single input multi output system, MIMO system, and IoT devices. Finally, non-covert techniques in which you do some modification of frame structure, modification of transmission parameters, encoding of pilot, and their applications are cognitive radio or traditional wireless systems. So these covert and non-covert is also based on your design criteria. In some places you don't care about covertness, you just focus on security. In the other cases, covertness is you need to consider about covertness. So here there is a noise coming. Can you can you please mute your mic? Okay. Here I compare briefly about passive and active physical layer authentication. So the first thing, what are the categories that we are comparing is merits, authentication features, advantages, disadvantages, and trade-offs. The first thing when we see from the merit point of view, the matrix in the passive case, you just need to consider security and robustness, like how much robust your feature to channel fading and noise effect, and how much secure it is when it passes through the when it passes through the channel, when it is received by an attacker, will it able to receive and launch replay attack? Will it the attacker able to mimic it or not? This is from the security point of view. Robustness, as I already explained you. The second thing is from the active physical layer authentication, there are three important things. The first one is covertness, security, and robustness. Not only we need to consider the robustness and security in it, we also need to consider how much covert it is, like how much covertness you want or level of covertness. The second important feature or category is authentication feature. In case of passive, as I explained, either it can be device based or channel based. In the active case, it can be modification of source message or authentication tag in case of non-covered, or in case of covered, you can modify the message parameters. Advantage is coverdness issue is not there. You don't need to change the your normal communication at the transmitter. Robustness here. Another point here is that, as I explained earlier, channel variation. We are sensitive to it. We have to consider the channel coherence time and this kind of thing. But in active case, there is one advantage, that it is independent of coherence time of the channel, because the tag is will not change even the channel change. The other thing is that it is also independent to user movement. Even the user move, still you can authenticate it. Going to the disadvantage, robustness is determined. Coherence time is an issue. If user move, the channel will change. The channel based, especially channel based authentication, and you will not able to authenticate the same user based on the channel. Coordinates issue is the disadvantage in active. Finally, trade-off between, because in passive the metrics are security and robustness, so we need to play with the security and robustness. While in case of active, trade-off among coverdness, security, and robustness, we need to consider all of them. So this is the part 3, and let us have another break, and then finally we will go into the detail of